If you are conversant with electric vehicles, you will know that the most common complaint about them is their charging times. Even with the fastest DC chargers, you are looking at more than 30 minutes to charge to full capacity. However, a new energy storage technology that is finally hitting the market promises charging times of within seconds. The new wonder battery is graphene energy storage, and it's already shaking up the energy storage industry. What is a graphene battery? Why is it so fast to charge? And which companies are bringing it to the market? What if your electric car can recharge the battery from braking? Of course, that's possible with regenerative braking, but the amount of energy generated is relatively small. But what if you can power your car to the next stop with the electricity generated from a single braking? Or you plug in your smartphone for a minute and you have a full battery. All these are impossible because of the limitations of the lithium-ion battery. There is no doubt that the lithium-ion battery has revolutionized the energy storage industry. Prior to it, electric cars, for example, had to use lead-acid batteries with all its drawbacks. They were bulky, inefficient, took long to charge, and did not even last in the rigorous working conditions of EVs. However, lithium-ion batteries still have their issues. Using electric vehicles as an example, lithium-ion batteries are still very heavy. They can weigh more than 1/4 of the total weight of the car. Even your smartphone could be a lot slimmer and sleeker if not for the battery inside. But that is not all about lithium batteries. Your EV would be far cheaper if not for the expensive lithium-ion battery. Compare EV and ICE car prices. You'll see that EV base model prices are close to mid-range ICE car prices. This is not to talk of charging times. An ICE driver will spend a few minutes filling up their tank and off they go. However, charging on a level 2 charger at home can take up to 8 hours. While that may not be an issue when charging at home, imagine you're on a cross-country road trip in your EV and need to stop multiple times to replenish the battery. Even with the fastest public charger, you are tied down to a spot for more than half an hour. Fleet operators are the most affected because the time the vehicle stays charging and stationary is literally lost revenue. This is why battery researchers can't rest yet. We don't have the ideal battery yet. There are several promising materials being investigated, but the best by a mile is graphene. The amazing thing about graphene is that it's a wonder material with exciting applications in multiple and varied use cases. You might have heard it being praised and hyped, but what is graphene exactly? Is it worth the hype? Graphene is actually a form of another material that you have known about for a long time. It is a thin layer of pure carbon, tightly packed and bonded together in a hexagonal honeycomb lattice. Everybody is calling it a wonder material because it has plenty of astonishing traits. It is the thinnest compound known to man at 1 atom thick. It is also the best known conductor. Apart from these, graphene has amazing strength and light absorption traits. Graphene is also ecologically friendly and sustainable because carbon in itself is widespread in nature and part of the human body. Graphene is now being used as a replacement for activated carbon in supercapacitors, which is the energy storage technology that promises to revolutionize the industry globally. Supercapacitors, or electric double-layer capacitors, or ultracapacitors, are not your regular capacitors. This is because the tremendous amount of energy they can store. If you tear down a basic capacitor, you will find 2 metal plates that are separated by an insulator. This insulator can be air or a plastic film. During charging, electrons build up on one conductor and abandon the other, so you end up with one side gaining a negative charge while the other side amasses a positive one. As for the insulator, it disturbs the natural pull of the negative charge towards the positive one, and that tension creates an electric field. Once electrons are given a path to the other side, discharge occurs. Similarly, supercapacitors have 2 metal plates. However, they are coated with a porous material known as activated carbon. They are immersed in an electrolyte made of positive and negative ions dissolved in a solvent. One plate is positive and the other is negative. During charging, ions from the electrolyte accumulate on the surface of each carbon-coated plate. Supercapacitors also store energy in an electric field that is formed between 2 oppositely charged particles, only that they have the electrolyte in which an equal number of positive and negative ions is uniformly dispersed. Thus, during charging, each electrode ends up having 2 layers of charge coating, or an electric double layer. There are many applications of supercapacitors already. For example, a Chinese company is currently manufacturing buses that incorporate supercapacitor energy recovery systems, such as those used on Formula One cars, to store energy when braking and then convert that energy to power the vehicle until the next stop. Other applications of supercapacitors include power backup for both industrial and individual uses. We are also on the verge of seeing supercapacitor batteries inside mobile telephones and other mobile electronic devices. They have the advantage of charging much faster and lasting for a vastly greater length of time. As mentioned before, several companies are trying to substitute the activated carbon in supercapacitors with graphene. These companies include Maxwell Technology, Skeleton Technology, and the Paper Battery Co. Before we bring you the latest update about the development work, how does this graphene supercapacitor work? The exciting thing about graphene is that it's better at storing electrostatic charge because of its high relative surface area. Because of this property, you can expect almost no degradation in the battery over long-term cycling. Lithium-ion batteries are notorious for losing charge storing capacity over the years. In fact, at a point, you just have to replace the battery, even though the rest of the car is still roadworthy. A graphene supercapacitor can store as much energy as a standard battery, but with the advantage of being fully recharged in 1 or 2 minutes. In addition, graphene supercapacitor technology is both environmentally friendly and much safer than current battery technology because it can operate without exploding or overheating. There is no risk of a thermal runaway. Researchers also prefer graphene for use in wearables and supercapacitors because of its exceptional electrical conductivity, flexibility, and high mechanical strength. But most important is the efficiency of supercapacitors that use graphene. Scientists recently produced graphene supercapacitors that can store 140 farads per gram. This was a big deal for supercapacitor materials because the current technology of activated carbon has a specific capacitance of only 35 farads per gram. One of the problems scientists were facing with graphene supercapacitors was the cost. This is due to the complexity of synthesizing mass-scale graphene, so the cost of supercapacitor materials frequently exceeded the cost of your standard battery materials. But a series of breakthroughs can make large-scale graphene supercapacitors competitive in costs. For example, Professor Richard Kainer and his team working out of the University of California have used a simple DVD writer on a home PC to produce scalable fabrication of more than 100 graphene micro supercapacitors over a large surface in less than 30 minutes. The team reported a power density of 200 watts per centimeter cubed, which is among the highest ever recorded for any supercapacitor. Another group of scientists was able to create mass production of green flexible graphene micro supercapacitors by irradiating femtosecond laser pulses on fallen leaves. The synthesized graphene microelectrodes demonstrated capacitance retention of almost 100% after 50,000 charge-discharge cycles. Speaking of advances in graphene supercapacitors, one of the leading companies is Skeleton Technologies. It already has a graphene-powered ultracapacitor, the SkelCap SCX 5000. It is a 3-volt ultracapacitor with an energy density of 16 watt-hours per liter. This is significantly higher than other ultracapacitors available on the market. Separately, CRRC has developed a 3-volt, 12,000 farad graphene-based supercapacitor which can power a tram for 6 kilometers with just 30 seconds of charging. It also has a 2.8-volt, 30,000 farad capacitor that can power a bus for up to 10 kilometers from just 1 minute of charge. Other researchers are working on combining supercapacitors and normal batteries in the form of a hybrid energy storage solution. This is what Professor Roland Fischer and his team at the Technical University Munich are focusing on. Their work has yielded a highly efficient graphene hybrid supercapacitor, which consists of graphene as the electrostatic electrode and metal-organic framework as the electrochemical electrode. Fischer's device can already deliver a power density of up to 16 kilowatts per kilogram and an energy density of up to 73 watt-hours per kilogram. This is comparable to several commercial devices such as lead-acid and nickel-metal hydride batteries. Moreover, while standard batteries have a useful life of around 5,000 cycles, Fisher's new hybrid graphene supercapacitor retains 88% of its capacity even after 10,000 cycles. Let's hear what you think of graphene supercapacitor batteries in the comments section below.